So, welcome to this next episode of Menable Matters with me, Steve Whitten. I'm absolutely delighted today to be joined by a lady that I've known professionally for a good few years, and that is because she is the dealer training manager for Ford of Britain. And of course, in my other capacity, we've done quite a bit of work together. So, it's been great to get to know this lady. But a few weeks ago, she posted something on LinkedIn all about volunteering, and particularly during the pandemic and its effect on people's mental health for the volunteers and those that you're volunteering for. So it gives me great pleasure to have on Menable Matters today, Ann Cardus. Ann, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you very much. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm not bad at all. I'm not bad at all. So, in great Menable Matters fashion, if you could just tell us a bit about who you are, where you're from, and what you do, and that'll lead us nicely into a chat about the volunteering and how you got into that.
I'm daily training manager for Ford of Britain, and we have an academy based in Daventry with about 50 people,
Hmm.
training dealers on sales and after sales. And I've been doing that now for about 2.5 years.
Right.
So I still consider myself relatively new to the role, and I'm still learning. I probably would imagine that I'll continue to learn. Um, But yeah, I guess we're here to talk about potentially what I do volunteering wise outside of work, but I've also done some volunteering at work as well.
Oh, right. Okay. And how long have you been with Ford, actually? I don't know if I've ever asked you that.
Oh, forever. So it'll be 30 years this October.
Oh, wow. You started when you were 10, obviously.
Yeah, naturally. Yeah. Age in arms.
That's one of the things that I noticed about our work that we do with Ford is just how many people have been there for ages. It just seems to, there's something about the organization that keeps you there, isn't it? Which is a good thing, I guess.
Yes, and Jim Farley, who's just started at the top of the organisation, has a very personable approach, and he talks about treating customers as family.
Right.
But actually, I think he probably applies that to employees as well. So
That's
it's a
good.
very inclusive and caring organisation.
Yeah, fantastic. Excellent. Okay. Well, so you mentioned that, yeah, we are going to talk about volunteering today. So, and you said to me just before we started recording that you actually started volunteering when you were about 7.
Yes,
Um, and we had a little bit of a joke that whether that was actually volunteering or not, if you're that age, whether you were dragged along to something. So go on, tell us your journey with volunteering and the sort of stuff that you do then.
I've done
And
lots of bits and pieces. So at the age of 7, my mum used to drag me and my younger brother along to knock door to door, collecting money for the Royal British Legion for the poppy appeal. And
right,
that sort of thing doesn't happen anymore. You don't get strangers knocking on your door asking for donations in return for a poppy. And she also used to do that for the Royal British Legion as well. Not sorry, Royal British Legion and also the RNLI
mm, mm,
as well. So yeah, we collected money for that. She also roped me in later in life into church bell ringing, which we both started at the same time. The church was looking for people, and we'd not done it before, and both turned up, both learned how to ring the bells. Neither of us go to church, neither of us religious, but stuck with that for probably about 5 years until I left home, actually.
now, useless fact alert, is that called campanology?
It is called
I
campanology.
don't know why I know that or how I know that.
Well, and I also learned how to do change ringing, which is a particular sort of bell ringing. So you get peal ringing, which is each bell in order, and then you
Hmm.
get change ringing where you alter the order of the bells as you go along. So I could
Yeah.
probably do that now, but I haven't done it for quite a long time.
So what's some of the volunteering that you kind of do at the moment then? And particularly, we're recording this during lockdown 3,
Mhm.
early 2021, and at the back end, hopefully, of the pandemic. So you've been keeping yourself busy with some stuff there, I guess.
Yeah, I have. So right back at the start of the pandemic, locally there was a mutual aid group that was set up to help people who were stuck at home, isolating or vulnerable, who couldn't get out and who needed I don't know, food or medication. So a group of local volunteers would get the requests in and go to the pharmacy, go to the supermarket, and help people out. And I helped out with that during furlough, because I didn't have much else to do, couldn't do work, and enjoyed doing that. But actually, I found that there were quite a lot of people locally doing that. And more recently, with the vaccination that's taking place locally, I've volunteered at the vaccination centre.
Oh, wow.
Not to deliver the vaccines, but to help people with the logistics on site. So welcome people on site, make sure that they find their way through the process, make sure that they're checked in correctly, that they hang around for 15 minutes to make sure that they're still feeling okay. Afterwards, making cups of tea and coffee for the staff that are administering the vaccines, and that sort of thing. And that's actually really nice, because everybody that's turning up for the vaccine wants that vaccine, and they are just so grateful to be receiving the vaccine. But you're dealing with happy people all day, and they're really, really pleasant. Get lots of good feedback.
I put my hand up for some marshalling as well at our local hospital, but I haven't heard anything yet. So I'm guessing that because I think they were intending on doing it 24/7 at one point.
Wow.
Yeah, because they're a hub. So you must be somewhere near similar, because I know you're in Essex, aren't you? Which has particularly been badly hit at some point during the pandemic.
We've had some fairly high, scary infection rates, but actually this vaccination centre is at a local leisure centre, which can't operate at the moment properly because of the lockdown restrictions. So
right.
The main hall, where normally you get people playing badminton or something along those lines, has been transformed into a vaccination centre running 7 days a week, but not 24/7.
Yeah, that did worry me. I did think I was going to get an email or a phone call to say, could you do the 2 in the morning shift? So I was shot by, hoisted by your own petard, I think is the phrase when you get that, isn't it? So what is it that drives you to, I mean, I know you had that intro early on, but what is it that drives you to do some volunteering then? Because I do know that your professional life is quite busy.
To be honest, most of the volunteering that I've done, I've sort of stumbled across or fallen into. But I am the sort of person that will put my hand up for that sort of thing. So, and sometimes I create my own opportunities. So I also volunteer at Parkrun. And I started doing that because my son turned up to Parkrun. And I found that I was driving into Parkrun, hanging around for 25 minutes and then disappearing again. And I thought, well, I might as well use that time constructively. So I started to volunteer as a marshal or barcode scanner, or doing some of the other roles there as well. And actually, over time, I got to know the core team that organise everything. And now I'm part of the core team. And so occasionally I'm a run director, which means that I'm in control of the event for that day. I did contemplate being event director, which means that you have overall responsibility for everything. And I did decide that was perhaps one step too far, because, as you say, my day job's fairly busy. But the thing I like about Parkrun is it takes people with all sorts of abilities and gets them out and active. And actually, Parkrun itself can help people with their mental health, because exercise releases endorphins, etc. Plus, there's a community spirit around Parkrun. So perhaps if you're feeling a little lonely or isolated, it's an opportunity every week to meet up with people. Clearly not at the moment, but when it starts up again, that will be an opportunity for people. I've done volunteering, helping adults with learning English and maths. I honestly can't remember how I got into that at all.
I might have to pass at that one.
Yeah, well, bizarrely, I tended to help people more with the English than with the maths, which is strange because I've actually got a maths degree. But anyway,
Right. Oh.
and that was at a local adult education centre. And again, that was rewarding. There were some people there who just wanted to be able to read so that they could read a book with their grandchildren. And to reach an age where you're a grandparent and you can't read a children's book is quite sad. But to be able to help somebody to be able to read a book with their grandchild is incredibly rewarding. I've done that. I've set up cookery classes at work.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask you about the volunteering at work, because you mentioned that you've done some there, and I know Ford have had a big involvement with the RNLI, which you mentioned.
Yes.
But so you did some cookery classes as well. What was that
Yeah.
about?
Well, in our old offices, we had kitchens that were available for. We have an employee development assistance program that helps people learn skills that aren't necessarily work related. So there was a kitchen there, and there were classes that were available for employees. But there are a lot of purchase service staff that work for Ford, and they weren't eligible for the employee program. And I decided that I'd do something about that. So I just used to, in my lunch hour, run some quick bakery lessons for the purchase service staff who didn't have access to the employee program. I can't remember how many of those I ran, but I ran quite a few.
Wow.
Just teaching people very basic skills. But it was fun, and it only took an hour, and I was giving people skills. And the other thing that I did, I've done a couple of things at work. I organised a drive to get people to sign up to the Anthony Nolan register, so invited the charity into work for a day.
Yeah.
And managed to get, I think we ended up with 50 people signing up to be donors, potential stem cell donors. And every year we'd do a couple of collections for the local food bank, both at Christmas, which is actually the busiest time for donations into food banks, but also just ahead of the school summer holidays, which is when the food bank supplies are generally depleted, and actually going into an area, a period where they have a peak of demand. And I've done all sorts of charity fundraising bits and pieces as well.
So what does volunteering actually do for you then, Anne? What do you get out of it?
Well, if you look at my job, I don't actually consider my job to be a caring role. I don't see it. Well, I don't. I'm not a nurse. I'm not a teacher.
Oh, I see what you mean. Right. Okay. I understand that. Yeah.
So it's, I work in business, and there's a certain edge to the role that I have. I've got objectives, etc.
It's very commercial.
Yeah, and I like helping people.
Right.
And I get a good feeling when I help someone. And pretty much volunteering is about helping other people in some way, shape or form. And I guess there must be some kind of reward mechanism going on in my brain that says I'm helping people. That's a good and positive thing, and I feel good.
Yeah.
And that's, I guess, why I keep going back for more.
Well, I've been speaking recently about the difference between doing something that comes from ego and doing something that comes from purpose. And I think what you've just done there is kind of summed up that perhaps even without necessarily, diving into it too deep, that you've, maybe you've got that kind of, the ego side might be the work bit, and the purpose is what you're getting out of the volunteering, I guess.
Potentially. And I think also there's, you meet a different group of people when you do volunteering, and I enjoy doing that. So the Park Run crew, I would never have got to know if I hadn't started volunteering. And actually, if I hadn't started volunteering, I wouldn't have started running. I'd always considered myself someone who was a non-runner. To an extent, I still do. However, I did run a marathon last year, I say run, I sort of got round. But
Go on then. What was your
actually,
time? You got to tell us what your time was.
oh no, honestly, you really don't need.
Well, it doesn't matter because if it was me, it would be about 4 days. So,
Well, it wasn't far off, and I've now got knee injuries as a result.
oh no, that's not good.
As a
Yeah.
result. But part of doing the park run, I ended up joining a local running group, which comprised of a lot of the park run core team.
Hmm.
And again, it's a chain of events. All of these things would not have happened if I hadn't started with the volunteering. Um, Doing the work with the food bank. Yes, I've done some of those food bank collections at work and organised those, but actually I've taken it further and we've done food bank collections at Parkrun. So I've combined two elements there. And again, that wouldn't have happened
Hmm.
had I not done the Parkrun volunteering and also done the volunteering to get the food bank collection sorted twice a year.
Hmm.
Um, yeah,
No, I
I've
get
al-
that, and I get how the connections are made. And you said something to me again before we were recording that you used the phrase "pay it forward,"
yeah.
and I love that. I think I've got a feeling that comes from a film or it's been used in a film. But for you, what does that? What do you take from that phrase then? What does that mean to you? Paying it forward.
Um, it's really doing something without there being an expectation of reward.
Mm.
Um, it's putting something back into society and community. Um, and I don't generally, I don't think about any kind of recognition for what I do. I just do it because it makes me feel good. So actually, you could say that potentially what I'm doing is quite selfish because I'm doing it because of how it makes me feel. But the net result is my mental health improves and I'm doing something positive that helps other people.
Mm.
So it's a net good thing all round.
Yeah. No, I mean, well, that's so right. So that brings me to the point about the effect on mental health. And you and I have not really talked about this before because obviously you've traditionally been our client, so it's not a kind of thing that we haven't openly talked about. But what is the effect, do you think, on your mental health for volunteering, and what advice would you give to anyone who's umming and ahhing whether they should be doing any volunteering?
I'd say jump in
Hmm.
because you've got nothing to lose.
Mm.
So there are lots of different things. It depends on the volunteering activity that you choose, but it's possible to find something that will give you a routine. And I think that routine can be really quite helpful for mental health. So Parkrun, for example, when it's up and running, that's every Saturday morning, and you're seeing the same faces. You're getting that social interaction with people, which can help as well. Just an opportunity to talk to people on a regular basis. Um, I think the other thing that it can do is open up avenues that perhaps you weren't aware of. So you can be aware of perhaps job opportunities that you didn't know existed because you're meeting a wider variety of people or you're seeing
Mm.
a different side of life.
Mm.
Um, I genuinely think that there are no downsides, providing you've got the time to devote to it. And I think most people do. I think you generally find time for the things that you want to do. Um, so when I started running, I didn't think that I had time in my schedule for running, but actually I found that I could fit it in to my week because I wanted to. And equally, if you want to do something, you will generally find the time and you will squeeze something else out of your week that you don't want to do. But generally, volunteering will result in people being nice to you. That's no bad thing. saying kind things and being grateful, and that makes you feel good about yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you're suffering from mental health issues, that positive reinforcement and having somebody who can make you feel good about yourself is no bad thing.
Yeah, no, I'm 100% with you on that. And in a similar way, I guess my journey with volunteering actually started when during the sort of down times, doing what I do, it can go up and down quite a bit. And during a downtime is a good time to actually go, no, I've got skills that I can use, and the fact no one's paying for me for that at the moment is irrelevant. I can go and do something that is up my street. And I ended up doing hospital radio because somebody said to me, "That's right up your street. That really is." And of course, lo and behold, as you said, it opens up opportunities. Here I am a few years later now doing my own podcast and getting involved in the things that I do there, just through where that took me. So you never ever know, do you, who you're going to
You
meet,
don't. And
where it's going to take you.
I imagine that if before you'd done the hospital radio, doing the podcast would have been a bit more of an unknown. You wouldn't have known perhaps where to start. But doing the hospital radio, you probably made contacts who could help you, give you advice. You learnt a little bit about what would be involved. And volunteering can be about learning and developing skills as well. When I was helping people learn English and maths, effectively I was learning how to be a teacher. And actually, I remember going through a teaching qualification whilst I was helping people. And that's something that I wouldn't have done if I hadn't done that particular bit of volunteering.
Yeah, absolutely. So bring that all back round into a circle then. So obviously, you and I are connected through the automotive industry. Menable is actually aimed at mental health in the automotive industry. That can be a very busy sector. And as we know, people who work in dealerships particularly can work ridiculously long hours at all levels. So what have you got any advice for anyone who's working in that busy environment that you and I both are connected to about getting out and doing some volunteering for them? Because as we've already said, there is an impact on mental health.
It's not just dealerships, actually.
Well, no, of course.
I was going to say, I see a lot of those extended hours in the manufacturers as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it is difficult. Interestingly, I was talking to some dealer managers this morning about hours and the kind of demands that dealer management place on staff. And we were talking about different pay structures for sales staff, because of course a lot of sales staff are based on commission. We're talking about some dealers who've made the move to basic salary, but who alongside that have said, well, if I'm paying a salary and I'm not paying commission, then I want my pound of flesh, and I'm going to increase the amount of hours that I demand of the staff that are being paid that salary.
I think we call that baby steps, Anne, isn't it?
Well, we agreed that was perhaps not the right approach. I think if you can, then building volunteering into the working day is a really positive thing. It will not only help you, but it will help colleagues as well. And actually, for a dealership or a manufacturer to be associated with doing something good in the community is no bad thing. It probably has been business benefits. So I would suggest that one of the things that I did, the food bank collection, it's a really easy thing to set up. You just need boxes and some emails to staff to say, for this period, we're going to be doing a collection for the local food bank. You make contact with the local food bank, and then you take the collection down to them. They benefit. You've done something positive. And every time you walk past that collection at work, you'll be reminded of the positive impact that you're having.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a really easy thing to do. And the other thing that I think it would be really beneficial for dealers to consider, um, at Ford, we have a couple of days a year that we can devote to working in the community. And I've done a variety of different projects, from doing gardens for schools and painting things and helping in local parks. But encouraging staff to take a couple of days out per annum to do something that benefits the community would be a really good thing. And it could be helping in a local primary school with supervising children reading. It could be helping out at a local food bank because they need volunteers. It could be helping out at a vaccination centre. There are all sorts of opportunities. And if anybody's wondering about what to do for volunteering, most local councils will have a volunteer coordinator. And you can reach out to them and they'll have a whole host of ideas, opportunities that you can participate in. And if you're doing something with colleagues, you can get a group of you together and you could all do something collectively. And that will help not only build the community within the workplace, but will introduce other people to parts of the community that perhaps they weren't aware of. And they may choose to take that volunteering beyond the work that they've done at their workplace and choose to do something in their own time as well.
Yeah, that's brilliant. That's good. And you're absolutely right about those council coordinators. I think they are pretty much in every town, and they're great. I spoke to one as well, and they are great at kind of pointing you in a direction of things that will suit you. You know, if you're struggling to think, well, what is it that we could do? And your point about you know, doing something collectively as a team. I mean, I could see that working really well for most, you know, talking about dealerships, for example. This isn't just the domain of those who work in big organizations. You know, smaller dealerships can get involved and do stuff as well, and be imaginative, can't you? There's loads of needs out there.
There is, and it doesn't actually have to be anything that involves another organization. I've got friends who organize Litterplex. You know,
organize what? Sorry.
Litterplex.
Oh, right.
You go out, you pick up litter, you're tidying up your local environment, make you appreciate your local area more, adds to a little bit of pride in the local area. And you know what? If you did that as a group of employees from a dealership wearing the dealership branding, then the locals would see that you are from a local company and you're doing something to enhance the local area. So you'll feel good about what you're doing, and other people will see the good that you're doing as well. Yeah.
And from in a commercial sense, there's no such thing as bad PR when you're doing stuff like that, is there? Really?
No, absolutely not. No.
That's good. That's good. Okay, well, thank you so much for that, Anne. That's been brilliant. I'm so glad I saw that post a week or so ago that you talked about volunteering, because that wouldn't have been something that you and I would have connected on ordinarily, I guess, would it? Because of our connection professionally. But yeah, I'm so glad you were able to come and talk a little bit about that. And let's hope that it inspires a few Menable Matters listeners to, you know, think about something that they could be doing.
Fingers crossed. And, you know, just keep an eye out for opportunities. And if an opportunity crosses your path, then just grab it, give it a go. Yeah. And of course, if you can't find one, make one. Exactly. Yeah. Create your own opportunities. Absolutely. Brilliant. Ann Cardus from the Henry Ford Academy, dealer training manager. Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and we'll catch up soon. Pleasure to talk to you too, Steve. Take care. See you later. See you. Bye.